Board. I messages. Thank you. Appreciate it. So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today, being Wednesday, January 17th, for our Human Relations Board meeting. I would like to kick off with introductions. I am Kiona Ackley, the co-chair of the HRB, and I will just go with our virtual folks first. Feel free to unmute yourself, Pastor Hooper.
Okay, yes, Pastor Hooper, and a member, happy to see everyone online. Okay, checking in here in Battle Creek.
Thank you, and I too am joining remotely from Battle Creek, Michigan. Thank you, Pastor.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Jeffrey Todd. I'm joining remotely from Battle Creek, Michigan. Hi, everybody.
And can you state where you're joining remotely? Did you say Battle Creek?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Sorry, it broke in and out for me for a minute, but I caught the Creek part, so I'm like, maybe he did. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yoni, would you like me to go through the list?
Yes.
Okay,
please.
let's do that. Leanne Wesley. Don't believe she's there. Kiona, you were already present. Chuck Asher.
I'm here in Battle Creek, present.
Jennifer Metzger. Donald Peoshon Woodward.
Present.
Bonica Herring. Jeffrey Cotton, you've already mentioned you're present. Derek Freeman. Dina Spencer. Whitney Wardell. Josita Todd.
Here, Battle Creek.
Commissioner Roger Ballard. And Rebecca Fleury.
Present. In the conference room.
Thank you. And then as of now, we currently do not have quorum, but I would still like to continue with our introductions. I know we got through half of the folks that's online, that's joining virtual, with the other folks that are joining us virtual like to come off mute for introductions as well.
Shannon Bagley.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, Shannon Bagley, Battle Creek Police Department.
Fiona, the others are staff, so you're going to see Eric.
Perfect.
He's our communications person.
Thank you. And then those in person, please.
Kimberly Holly, I'm the DEI officer for the city of Battle Creek.
And that's all.
Thank you so much. And given that we don't have quorum, we will be skipping agenda item letter C. One, we'll come back to that if we do have quorum, and then moving right along to agenda item D. And that'll be communications. Anything there?
There are no communications.
Thank you. Moving right along to agenda item E, committee reports.
No reports.
Thank you. Right along to F, old business.
What committees do we have?
We had a subcommittee that looked at the Community Oversight Board.
Right.
Yeah.
And then before we had a subcommittee that looked at fair housing. There's a small subcommittee that looked at fair housing. I think if I'm recalling, those are the only two subcommittees that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And since I've been on board, those are the only two that I'm aware of as well. Great question. Thank you. All right. And then moving along to agenda item F, old business, the Community Oversight Board. Any updates on that?
We held a workshop with the city commission on December 5th, 2023, to provide an update on the draft for the Community Oversight Board. We had a lot of great questions from city commissioners, comments and questions from community members that were in attendance. Questions along the lines of regarding membership, regarding processes, what happens if, that sort of thing. We talked about what came up at our last HRB meeting around if the police department serves other municipalities, would those community members be eligible to serve on the Community Oversight Board? So there's discussion around that, as well as how membership is determined for the Community Oversight Board. So lots of great questions and comments and dialogue. Our next steps will be to, I've actually made a couple of updates based on the comments from that workshop to the draft that I'll need to present back to the city manager, the chief Bagley, and our city attorney. I am working with our communications director around a community education plan. Would like to do some limited community education prior to this going back to the city commission. We are tentatively optimistic that we might be able to take this back to the city commission for review in March. And let's see, Chuck was at that workshop, and I would invite Chuck or Rebecca or Chief Bagley to add anything to what I've just said. And also wanted to mention that the workshop can be viewed on the city's website via our YouTube channel.
Thank you so much for that, Kim. And do appreciate any additional commentary from Chief Bagley and our other board members. I do just want to ask, can you elaborate a little bit more on the conversation or dialogue that took place around the questions that you took to there from our last meeting, such as the police officers serving on other boards in addition to the CRB and the other one as well?
So there was quite a bit of conversation around, we were specifically asking about Bedford Township, because that's where we currently have, our police department currently has a services agreement. And it seemed to be a consensus around for any municipality outside of Battle Creek that we have a service contract, that those community members would be eligible to serve on the Community Oversight Board. Up to one seat only would be available for municipalities outside of Battle Creek. I think I captured that.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And then I'm sorry, your other question.
I know there was a second question we took to. Do apologize, I don't have my notes right in front of me. I believe you touched on it. It was right after you mentioned that question, you spoke to it, and I went to jot it down, but didn't want to lose my train of thought.
Was it regarding how people are selected for the committee?
Yes,
or
yes, yes,
okay.
yes. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I am definitely going to pivot to Rebecca on this one. There was a lot of discussion around that too. Right now, the recommendation is to follow our current process for any board or commission, in which we have an application process where people apply. And then those applications are reviewed by our review committee, which is comprised of the mayor, our city manager, our vice mayor, the board chair of any respective committee that someone's applying for, as well as the staff liaison. And so there was a lot of question around, given the responsibility of this committee, if that's the appropriate process for appointing people on this particular proposed board. And I would invite Chief Bagley and Rebecca to chime in on that one.
Sure, I'd be happy to add just one thing, Kim, and I think you captured 99% of it. The one thing about the selection is also about the information shared with the prospective board members. This is going to be an extremely significant training and involvement for the individual board members specific to the review board. There's going to be some, maybe anywhere from a 1 to 3 day kind of a conference and or school outlining kind of police procedure pursuant to use of force and some other trainings associated with that, along with policies and procedures. So this board will be have a much more significant training component to it because of some of the things that they may be considering. So that was just part of making sure that the prospective board members are well aware of that kind of that training and education lift that's associated with this board.
I've
Thank
got,
you. And I just want to
Kathy,
take a moment, bear with me to make, Becca, did you capture that Dina joined us as well?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
Thank
Pleased
you.
to see you. Thank you for that.
so Kathy asked me to send her some notes from that meeting. And I apologize if you already said this, but I was busy looking up the notes. But a couple other things, and actually Deanna brought it up in public comments, was that the board, as much as it possibly can, reflect the population of Battle Creek. And I think Vosis and Carrie and WACP mentioned automatically having seats on the board, but there was I didn't hear any real conversation from the commission on those 2 points. Did I remember that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. And expanding to 9 members.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to add. I think everybody just covered it.
Perfect. Nothing more. I was giving folks a moment or two. I know Ralph, he was pulling out his notes. All right. So good there. And then the number 2 of that agenda item was language access.
So our language access task group meets on the 31st of this month. Where we will be finalizing, so the assessment that we're doing in regard to language access has 3 parts. The first part is a survey that will go out to all staff, city employees, in regard to how they're currently serving community members when it comes to translation and interpretation services and their knowledge around that. And then the second part is us really assessing, what are all the points of contact that people have with city services, from 311 to coming into one of our facilities and interacting with a receptionist or security person, et cetera. And then also, what are the ways or levels of interaction? So are they looking up information on the website? Are they trying to pay a bill? Really documenting all the ways that people come into contact with us as part of that assessment. And then the third part is having conversations with our external partners that are currently providing translation and interpretation services for the city, as well as partnering with them to survey community members about what their experiences have been utilizing those services with the city. And then all of that information will be used to inform a number of things. One, to update our existing limited English proficiency plan. We will also partner with our human resources to identify training for all employees, as well as incorporating this into onboarding for new employees. We'll also look at things that come up, like in terms of our facilities, signage. Are there things that we need to do to enhance, not just comply, but to enhance our environment to make sure that we are truly being an inclusive city government? And also, I still have in my mind, Kiona, the experience that you shared serving on a commission where a community member was having trouble in terms of language barrier. So we want to make sure that commissions and boards also have knowledge about the interpretation services that are available to community members. Certainly the board chair and staff liaison should definitely be very aware of that and be able to provide those services. So a lot of components to this. But we're really excited, a great group, not just people that work in City Hall. We have some individuals that work in the police department, and they've really been able to give a totally different perspective, just in terms of thinking about other roles within city government and how we're interacting with community members that may be limited in terms of English proficiency or English as a second language. So I foresee a lot of great information coming out of this assessment. I would anticipate that I would be able to provide a more robust update in the spring in terms of old business.
Thank you. Thank you for getting the conversation started, making awareness to the areas, not only within the city office, but outside of these barriers that our community members are experiencing. So definitely appreciate it. And yes, I look forward to seeing a change specifically within that co-compliance area. There was another similar incident at our last meeting, and I'm like, something. So a good takeaway there to know that there are some things in the works.
I will also add, we are recommending like a cheat sheet, for lack of a better word, in the interim during this assessment, because we do have many new staff, myself included, since that original plan was developed. And so we just want to make sure that even if it's not the full training, that in the immediate, people know how we can serve people that English is not their first language, or may need some other support in terms of language access. So hopefully that'll happen within the next month.
Perfect, great. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, please.
Yep. No, I have a question, and I don't know why I didn't think of this last time. Would ASL be included in that in any sort of way?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
absolutely.
I've been watching a TV show, and that is like part of this show that I'm sucked into currently. And so I'm like, oh, let me think of that.
Yep,
So-
absolutely.
All right, good.
I would also like to add, with the renovations that are happening on the first floor, we are trying to make space for kiosks that are multilingual, so that people could do business just on a kiosk in any language that they may need. So we're doing our best to try to integrate a lot of these items into that first floor renovation, but knowing it takes time, and we want to do this right and not quick.
A wonderful benefit. Good to know. Thank you. All right. Any dialogue from anyone else regarding that topic? All right. And while we're still on old business, I first want to thank Becca for sending this out not once, but a couple times. The assessment of the economic conditions in the city of Battle Creek research report that you all should have received via email and had the option of reviewing. And then today, we just wanted to make space for an optional discussion. Any questions, anything that folks would like to lift up, highlight, questions or concerns?
Fiona, if I can interrupt for just a moment, in attendance, I forgot to make note that you had a new member that was approved last night at the city commission meeting, and I'm afraid I'm not going to say her name correctly, but if I'm going to take a try, Eva de las Heras, perhaps, is her name, and she was not able to attend, so she is absent today, but obviously short notice, but I just wanted to make note of that.
Yes, thank you. And you got really close. I know her first name. I've heard it pronounced being Ava, I do believe, even though it's spelled Eva, EVA. So I know of her, but don't know her. So yes. So thank you for lifting that as well. And we look forward to a warm welcome to her when she's able to attend, hopefully our next meeting. Thank you. All right. And floor is open if we like to have dialogue. And I can kick us off. I did have a chance, I had a chance to review that report and found some of the data to be very interesting. A couple of things that I pulled from it is how it appears that our younger and middle age community members are kind of moving out of Battle Creek and just wanting to get like folks' thoughts on the reasons behind that. How can we show up, I guess, more within the community to try to bridge that gap, especially with seeing that we have our over 55 population has increased over the years. And when I looked, I did notice that this research appeared to have been conducted back in 2019.
Mhm.
And is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then the report was prepared in 2021. And I know quite a few things that has happened since then. One, a major thing being the pandemic, of course. So I'd love to see a little bit more recent data, but it definitely got the wheels turning there, and wanted to see if anyone had like any insight thoughts on that. I know when I think about those that are under the age of 18 that are just in some of the districts that my family and my kids attend, I'll hear that some folks have moved their kids to Marshall schools or Portage, Kalamazoo area schools, and sometimes it'll be just the dynamics of the districts here within the city doesn't work for their family, or they feel like a better education opportunity is being provided. Because I'm quick to ask why, like why, what can be done differently? Because I do sit at tables that look to make those positive impacts and changes within the city to help retain as many of our community members. So they want to not only live here, but work here, have their kids go to school here and continue to build here. So always intrigued by these questions and reports such as this one.
Well, one of the reasons, this is Jacita, one of the reasons why I wanted us to review the report is, although it's not as current as I would like, but I'm a data person, and it gives us at least all a common foundation at one point in time in terms of our community. And the things that popped out for me was the whole population change, and you hit on population retention. Those are areas that maybe in the future we could look into what could we do as a committee to influence that. One of the other areas that was interesting is the larger commuting inflow versus outflow. We have quite a few people that live outside of Battle Creek but work in Battle Creek, and certainly that's changed significantly from when I lived here many, many years ago. And then the other big issue for me is the poverty rate. The poverty rate for Blacks and Hispanics in the city of Battle Creek is more than twice that of the white in Battle Creek. And in terms of Calhoun County, we have the highest poverty rate in any county in the state of Michigan. So those are just things that, as we think about what can we do in our community and what are the dynamics and what are the things that we're facing, those are just food for thought.
We talked before the meeting. This is Chuck talking. We talked before the meeting. We had the same takeaways from the report, but when he just mentioned Battle Creek Public Schools and retention of students, this was done in 2019, and some of the population demographics were 2017. So it's a 6-year-old report in some ways. But Battle Creek Public Schools have done 3 things since then that I'd really be interested in seeing what the impact is. And that's assisting teachers moving into the district with some mortgage assistance.
Oh, wow.
And then the other one is the recent wage increase for teachers, $10,000 a year. And then the Battle Creek Promise. I really would be curious, and I know that especially the wage increase and the promise are pretty recent. So maybe a couple of years or 3 years down the road, we'll hopefully see some data on the effect of those three things.
I can add too, because I appreciate, data is data at a point in time. I think the good news is when we received the 2020 census information for the first time in a decade, I know it was small, but there was finally a population increase. We know what that does. The more people that are in your community, you usually see a lot more, some more positive outcomes. So, we're working on that. Love for the community to be part of it. I think if you listen to anybody talk, it's creating a community of choice, and it's thinking beyond just some of our regulars, housing, transportation, talent, but also in that sense of place or a culture of vitality. What do the events look like for the demographics? So we say, for that younger population, that is not me. I've now stepped into the 55 and older crowd, and that's a different, set of events, placemaking that we think about. But I completely agree. I love data, and it should inform what we do as a community, and that there isn't one entity necessarily that's responsible for making that all happen. Mm-hmm. From the city's perspective, what we watch is any sort of growth in our taxable value base. We haven't seen that since the housing crisis in 2008, 2010. But over the past, I would say 3 years, we have finally seen some improvement in our taxable value. It means that there's investment in the community, and we want to see if that continues. Again, I understand if you look at it at a data point, they look very small. However, any sort of increase in those areas are positive indications that things are moving in the right direction. I appreciate what you said. What's happening at the Battle Creek Public Schools is a big step in the right direction. We have work to do, but I love the fact that, we're thinking about things differently. The hotel is it will be a very interesting incubator from a teaching hotel. Because if we don't help connect people in our community to the jobs that they want, we're not going to be successful. So if you can go to the new hotel and learn all things hospitality industry, and you can get, a certificate through KCC, you could get a degree through KCC, or you could get a 4-year degree with Grand Valley State University. So the partnership that we have is trying to build a pipeline from K through 12 to whatever that next iteration is. And I think that the Battle Creek Career Academies is doing some amazing things in connecting students. I was just listening to some young people talk the other day about the trades. And if you look at what the starting wages for the trades, it's more than many college graduates are coming out and starting with. So I see that at least they're thinking about, or not feeling that they're being pushed into automatically going to a 4-year college, but they have other options to connect with. Trust me, I would love to connect them with the police department, the fire department, and our Department of Public Works. And so just making them aware of the variety of careers we have here. And I saw it in the report too. They highlight that they see healthcare industry is growing in our community, which is great. They called out another one.
Part of that is because of the aging population.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Which I'm a frequenter.
Me too.
Lately.
That's had my wellness check in.
Right, you get a and then you're like,
Just yesterday.
yep, I can't roll around and run around with my 2.5-year-old grandson without being.
Well, let me tell you, when you get over 65, they will not let you dodge that way. It's true. They'll hound you.
So, I think the conversations in the community about connecting with what our population looks like in those areas of need and actually want, because we want people to come to Battle Creek to live, work, play, educate, worship, all of those things. And I think that regionally, we're finally understanding the placemaking part of that. is that if you don't have the placemaking attached to your community and economic development, none of those can be successful without the other. It's a symbiotic relationship. And it's going to take this entire community to do that. And certainly recognize the different demographics we have with our Black and brown populations, and what are we doing to support that? We appreciate the work of, well, of course, we have the greatest DEI officer in the entire Midwest. And she's right, Midwest. I said that. I didn't just say the right
No
there,
pressure.
Michigan.
No pressure at all, Kimberly.
There. You know, and she is helping us look at things differently. We work with the Village Network, who supports our BIPOC organizations in ways that we can help improve the statistics that you just said. I don't have that magic answer, but I appreciate that we're at least invited to the table. What can the city do to help? We just had a public hearing last night at the commission meeting, and just the extreme amount of stress in our transit department right now, because we cannot get enough drivers to fulfill the services that we should be providing. We just can't. And that's very, very frustrating. And there's so many different reasons. And it's not just a Battle Creek issue. It's nationally. And, you know, I think our transit director tried to elevate that. And that, you know, what other things can the city be involved in, or what other discussions can we be a part of? Again, it's not one person or one agency or one organization that's going to solve this. It's going to take all of us, and certainly would be delighted to work with this body in any way that this body felt would be helpful.
Anybody was around here 40 years ago, that hotel was a hub down there. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you remember
Yeah.
what it was like. Every weekend there was something going on. There was shopping, there were events. It was really brought people downtown, just like Lakeview Square brought people out. And
Well,
that's
and you
exciting
see,
things going on.
it is
out there.
exciting, and you can see how you're right. It's not going to be the Battle Creek of 40 years ago. It's not going to be the Battle Creek of 20 years ago. It's going to be the Battle Creek of right now. And so what we're seeing is, you know, malls aren't succeeding anywhere. Let's just be real about that. So it's not a Battle Creek thing. We got to tell people, don't be so negative. You know, we have to have more of a positive narrative. But what Horrocks has done to that area has really, you know, is making a difference.
Definitely.
It's why we now are seeing increased investment out there. And who would have thought that, you know, would I want them to be downtown? Absolutely. Would I have loved them to be at both places? Absolutely. But they made a business decision. But we love what it's doing on the Beckley Road corridor. The hotel, you're right. It's amazing, and it's a magnet, and it gets people downtown. What we need more of is people living downtown. And we've got to figure out what to do with vacancies in office buildings, because the hybrid world is here to stay. So what does that look like when we know we've got businesses downtown that need the foot traffic? That's what's happening at Lakeview. They're getting the foot traffic. I don't know about you, but I got to park way out by the old Don Pablo's on like a Saturday if I want to go to Horrocks, or even a Friday night.
In the 80s, downtown, you had 3 major insurance companies and had 700 employees walking downtown every lunch hour.
Yeah.
And I mean, that had a huge economic impact that time. Then they left.
Yep, so it's all the foot traffic and
Right.
figuring out, okay, so now it's not that, but what can it be? The hotel is a big one, because it will still bring those large events. And then bringing more housing downtown too. Sorry, I didn't know who was talking. I'll stop talking.
You're good. No, I just want to acknowledge Jeffrey has his hands up. Thanks, Jeff.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
Maybe it was next.
And then
On mute, I think.
Jeff, you're on mute.
Oh.
There you
okay,
go.
okay,
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Ms. Flurry already kind of answered most of my questions. I forgot I had my hand up actually. But the last point that she made about the housing downtown, I was wondering about incentives. The thing that stood out most to me is that we want people to move here. I've been seeing that a lot lately around the nation, and I've been seeing different cities like offer small incentives or large incentives in some cases for individuals to move there. And I remember somebody spoke on it earlier, the incentive that we have for teachers to help them purchase a home and move here. Has there been any discussions, or what is the process like of maybe coming up with some kind of creative ideas to maybe attract people here, or maybe come up with some creative ideas to fill in those empty buildings and a lot of empty spaces. I know me personally, I ride up and down Jackson Street by my house, and it just seems like a bunch of land right by some water that could be a lot done with it. And that's all.
Jeff, you make excellent points. A couple of things I forgot. Chuck did mention that the city has a grant from the W.K. Kellogg Foundation to provide housing incentives to teachers in the Battle Creek schools for them to relocate into the district. It's been incredibly successful because we just got another iteration of it because it has been successful. There was also ARPA dollars awarded to do the same for childcare workers, either boost wages or help with housing, to try to get an influx of housing or early childhood professionals to come in, because we know we have voids there. The other one I know of is the TRAIN program. It's actually housed out of Battle Creek Unlimited, and they'll match up to $10,000 for the purchasing of homes within the city of Battle Creek for professionals. That's ongoing. So the city participates in that. We've had several new employees.
Oh, that's major. I've never heard about that. Could you break that down, or can I find that somewhere?
If you go to BCU's website, and you do a search on TRAIN, TRAIN, the TRAIN program, you'll be able to get the information there.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep, it was seeded by a grant, I think, from the Kellogg Company, matched by Battle Creek Unlimited, and then employers that sign on, like for the city of Battle Creek, we provide, the match to that, and then directly to those who are purchasing the homes. I've seen firefighters utilize it. I've seen young professionals use it within the city, and I've seen skilled trade use it in the city as well. Even if that's just 5 people, it's 5 more people that have purchased a home in the city of Battle Creek, and that's a win. And we've talked with other employers. There's a lot of employers that participate in it. I don't think I could tell you all of them, but we'd love to see that program stay and grow.
It reminds me, and this is going back probably 20 years ago. I have a friend that used to live in Battle Creek, and back then, maybe even more than that ago, her husband took a job in Jackson as a police officer, fresh out of school, and they had a program, and it was through HUD. If you purchased a home over there and you had to be police, fire, or a teacher, you got almost like, I want to say she purchased her house for half of the market value or something like really significant. You had to live in it for 5 years. Yes. So that was the stipulation. They had to stay in their current home for 5 years, but it was to do that, to bring those people into that community and to incentivize those job opportunities and those people that were contributing to that county, that city, whatever it was at the time. I don't remember if it was in the city of Jackson or if it was the county, but she had a great little house, and they stayed there for probably 7 or 8 years before they moved closer to town. But it was a great program. And so it sounds like it's very similar to what this is. And it was super successful over there, I guess. She's been there ever since. So
I think by statute, you have to live 20 miles from a border. Is that what it is?
Yes, Michigan,
Yeah,
they changed that.
So it's probably the county. When I hired in at the city, you had to live in the city. And I remember it was during a recession. So I took the job, and I remember resenting that for a few years until I went, I kind of like Battle Creek. And I wound up I'm still here 40 some years later, but I'm not advocating going back to residency clauses.
No, I think when the state kind of did their thing, that really took that out of there. Not that you can't incentivize people to come in, of course.
That you could do it that way, which is what Deanna's talking about.
Yes.
The other thing is, does Mishta, and Rebecca, you maybe know this, I don't know. Does Mishta still have the mixed use downtown retail and residential funding to renovate some of the buildings downtown?
Yeah, but it's not in its same iteration, I think, that you're talking about.
Probably not. I'm talking 10 years ago.
Yeah, but they still love to see mixed use, where you do residential on the upper floors and retail commercial on the bottom floors. Yes. And as a matter of fact, we have an active one going for the Van Buren lot. Van Buren, kind of right across from Clara's.
Mhm.
So, you know, they're pursuing that particular one, but yes, we still are, pretty successful with some of the CRP money from MISTA, big projects and small projects. So there are still some.
I know something like the Milton takes many, many, many more sources because.
Oh, yeah, that's a layer of financing that just continues. That was just very
Tax
large.
credits and all that.
Yes.
If I can interrupt, it looks like Whitney Wardell has joined, and I just want to take roll for her. Whitney Wardell, are you here?
Whitney Wardell reporting remotely from Battle Creek.
Thank you. And
Is that
Kiana, I'm
good
gonna give you
quorum?
quorum
Sure.
at that point,
She'll
yes.
give us nine.
Yep. Okay, thank
Perfect.
you.
And if we could just, given that we have the city staff until 5 p.m., if we can just go back up to the approval of November's meeting minutes, I would greatly appreciate that.
I move that we approve the minutes from November 29th, 2023 as written.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye or raise your hand if you're virtual or do something to identify.
Aye.
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 Any nays? Jeff, was that a delay in aye or was that a nay, dear?
Yeah, that's my eye.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you. All right. And as for the agenda items, was that the only agenda item we needed a vote for back up before we lose you all at 5?
Nope, we're gonna need to vote on the calendar change.
Okay. Yes, all right. So we can jump right into new business. Thank you so much for the dialogue, you all on those old business topics. Definitely appreciate it. All right, the charge of Human Relations Board. And Rebecca, can you give me some insight on this agenda item, the expectation or any dialogues?
Well, I feel like I'm at a bit of a disadvantage because I
Okay.
thought that Kathy Zenda Wilson was gonna lead that conversation.
Okay,
Because, you know, they just wanted, I think what she envisioned was the board discussing, you know, what is their charge? Particularly now that we have the DEI office, certainly not wanting to duplicate things, but, you know, to collaborate on things. And so I think she just wanted to be able to have that dialogue with the group, to be sure that we were all kind of moving in the same direction.
can we please table that for February 21st? I didn't have a chance to connect with her regarding this specific agenda item, and I feel it would be most appropriate to have her part of that conversation.
Certainly.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do so there. And so move into number 2, 2024 HRB calendar. So if folks had a chance to look over that calendar with those proposed dates, there was one suggestion, given that the June date falls on Juneteenth, for us to look at the Wednesday before, which would put us at June 12th. And that would be the only amended request to that calendar, in addition to what you all should have in front of you.
I'd like to make a motion that we move the June meeting to June 12th, 2024.
A second.
All in favor, say aye or raise your hand or
Aye.
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 any nays?
Aye.
No nays.
Okay, all the silence would reflect no nays. Now, do we need to approve that calendar as a whole, Becca, at this point?
We did that at the last meeting, so I
Perfect.
think, and Rebecca, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's just approving this change as the calendar as a whole was approved last time.
Yep, then just the change.
Sounds good. Appreciate you all for accommodating that date change. Thank you so much. All right, moving on to the community points of interest. Open discussion there.
I have a couple things. First thing, just because it's top of mind, and I already think I probably know the answer, but I'm just gonna lift it back up again. Just the violence happening on the north end, and I know the police are doing, I don't know what you're supposed to do. I mean, you can only do what you can do, and we all know that, but I think there's been 4 shootings in the last 12-ish months at the north end of town. Another one a block from my house at 3:45 in the morning, the other morning, which is so unfortunate. And I don't know. I don't know what's being done about that. I just know it's really, really out of hand. So I just want to lift that up and hope that some extra efforts maybe are being put into that. And I don't even know what that answer is, but I just want to put that out there, I guess.
I want to acknowledge Whitney Wardell's hand.
Mm.
I'll go ahead and, just want, I don't know if this would fall under the community points of interest or, under public comment, but just want to bring to the group that we, as a county, will be conducting our annual pit count, which is our point in time count. As the HARA for Calhoun County, we have held a couple of trainings. If anyone is interested in attending one of our next 2 training sessions or volunteering, then please feel free to reach out to me. If you are unaware of what pit count is, again, it's our point in time count, and that's where we go out into the community and conduct a count of the unsheltered individuals throughout the entire county. It is held January 30. This year it'll be January 31st. We will start pit count at we will kind of convene at 8:30 at Neighborhoods Inc. and kind of group together and break out into teams to disperse throughout the county. And we'll do that from 8:30 until about midnight. And then on Thursday, February 1st, we will have a number of meal sites where we will have volunteers stationed to collect information from the unsheltered population. Also,
go ahead, Whitney.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, if you know of any encampments, please also provide me with that information so that we can connect with our street outreach team to let them know if they are not already aware of where encampments may be in our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Whitney. And I did want to give Chief Bagley, well, briefly, any questions for Whitney regarding the events she just shared? All right, then I did want to give Chief Bagley an opportunity to respond to the first topic. I did see you come off mute. I did just want to respect Whitney. Hand went up slightly before that though, but thank you.
Well, no, certainly. Of course, in 2023, unfortunately, we had 12 incidents where homicides occurred. I should take that back. We had 10 incidents, 12 total homicides. So tragically, 2 of those homicides involved double 2 people dying in that incident. So 1 is too many in this community. Typically, what we're seeing here in Battle Creek is about 20% of the homicides, and this is probably over a 10-year period. It's about approximately 20% of all of the homicides involve a domestic intimate partner relationship connection. So very difficult to predict and get ahead of those. There's some things in which we are hoping mental health also plays a component in some of these as well. So you have addiction issues, whether it's alcohol or drugs, and a mental health component. You're bumping some of these up then to that 45 percentile range. So there's some areas for where we can target the mental health component. We have a clinician that will be starting next Monday, part of a grant, which is a Protect and Connect grant, where we can have our own clinician that can help diagnose some of our frequent flyers. It's there's about 27 people in the city of Battle Creek that account for almost 20% of our calls for service, and it's directly related to a mental health component. So there's things in which we still have issues with group violence. We've weathered that storm better than some of our neighboring communities to the east and to the west. But again, we are looking to be more purposeful in our engagement and looking for other partners within the community to kind of help reach out to some of these individuals that are deciding to pick up a gun and pull a trigger as one of the first arrows out of their quiver. So it's tragic. There is no easy solution or simple fix. But we are working in that direction and always looking for other opportunities to engage to decrease the level of violence that we're seeing.
Thank you. And how are those that are in need of these services, which sounds like some great ones, so I'm glad to hear grant funding came through to make those accessible. How will they be made aware of these services?
Well, as specific to the Protect and Connect grant, basically that's a community-wide crisis response team that will be built by our clinician through the Fusion Center. So what we always plug in any individual that we come into contact with our partners, Summit Point or other mental health services. So specific to what we're building is the ability within the organization to respond to either a report from dispatch or a call in or some type of secondary notification to the PD about an individual within a mental health crisis. And then it's not necessarily that we, in all circumstances, officer would respond. It would be a clinician and then maybe accompanied by someone from Summit Point. So it's not that we are going to provide clinical services. It's a way in which, and there's an outward facing component to this that we're describing about going to the community in dealing with our frequent flyers to help them get plugged into the right resources. But there's also an inward component as well for training from officers, for additional CIT trained officers and awareness levels so that we can be better prepared and increase our numbers in those areas so that we can respond appropriately in the community. So it's not necessarily from a clinical component as you would think from a traditional viewpoint. It's more of along the lines of how do we deal with our most frequent flyers, not only the adults, but we're looking at ways in which we can partner and dig more deeply, this community is not unlike others. Our juvenile mental health resources are extremely limited within the community, and that's going to be a big lift as well.
And is there more of a proactive piece in there that I may not have caught, opposed to just the reactive piece which were the pieces I was catching and all of that?
Certainly the proactive pieces that we know, right? We know our data that we collect from responding to calls for service. So we already know what our frequent flyers are. So our heavy resource users. So instead of waiting for the next call, it's about being able to have the conversation and get them plugged into the right resources. So in a sense, we'll be looking at some clinical work by not only helping them plug into the right resources, but to continue that checkup, right? To make sure that they're doing whether it's medication or whether it's follow through on their appointments, to help reduce that call volume so that ultimately they can have a successful outcome.
Thank you. And Jeff? And you're still on mute, Jeff. Okay.
Yeah, my bad. Chief, you sparked a lot of ideas. I think I've said it before, but hopefully soon we can arrange a meeting. That's one of the main things I do is try to stop violence and try to stop gang, do a lot of gang intervention. I try my best to save as many of these young dudes as I can. Excuse me. And they trust me, man. And lately they've been coming to me, talking to me about things that are deeper than usual, I should say. They thinking a lot more. These little dudes it's a lot of them that really want to change their lives. You know what I'm saying? And we have discussions about power a lot. And I always tell them, man, I don't got no power, bro. I'm just trying to do good. If I can't give you a job and some housing, then I don't have any power. That's like two of the main key components that to be able to divert individuals away from a lot of things, right? So hopefully we can sit down soon and the juvenile, especially the juvenile aspect of it. I heard you say that the juvenile, and I'm wondering why. Maybe that would be part of our discussion when we sit down. I'm wondering why those funds are so limited, but I'm also wondering if it's a possibility to maybe start some type of programming in the juvenile home itself.
Well, sir, yeah, without a doubt. And you said some very poignant things. I had an opportunity to meet with Pastor McCoy here this afternoon and talk about some of the things that Next Level is doing and partnering with them. And of course, love to sit down and chat with you any way in which we can reduce the violence within the community, and especially provide resource and opportunity for individuals to not pick up that gun and to help them get to where they need to be. Those are discussions that we've been having now for the last year, and looking forward to any more in the future. But it's going to be, we have to tackle this together. This isn't just a law enforcement issue. This is a community, should be a community driven endeavor to turn the page on this.
I definitely agree. I'll be reaching out soon.
Thank you. And I know we're at time for the community staff. I just want to quickly double check. Do we have public comments?
No, we didn't.
Public comments.
We didn't.
We do not. Thank you so much. Sorry, I didn't catch it the first time.
Oh,
That was Pete.
We did not do them, but we have to do them.
Oh, correct. And so my question is, do we have any public comments?
I'm sorry.
No problem.
Eric, I don't think he sees anybody.
No, we don't have any public joining on Zoom, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then I know we probably just have a couple more minutes, but I do understand if community staff need to drop off. Just want to open the floor for any board comment.
I have actually a couple more community uplifts that I'd like to ask about if I can, if we have a minute or two. One is pertaining more to the city, and I can circle back to our related to law enforcement, and I'll circle back to those in a minute. The first one is I have a community question. I have somebody that is wondering if the city has funding available to repair sidewalks in front of their home. The reason that they're asking is in front of their particular home, they have a lot of foot traffic. It is a city sidewalk. It's uneven, not paved well, tripping hazard, all of those things. And this person is saying, if I'm made to shovel the sidewalk as part of the homeowner, behind it, so to speak, it takes, it's normally a 10-minute job that takes a lot longer due to the unevenness and all those things. And if somebody falls, or every time they're shoveling or trying to do the things, it's just a big hindrance. And there's wondering if there is funding available within the city to apply for, or assistance to have that repaired. Like, where would they go? What would they do? So anyway, that was the community question, and I have no clue what to say. And I'm like, send that to me, I'll ask.
I need an address. We don't have funds
that
can be applied for.
Yep.
They wouldn't be eligible under minor home repair or anything
Okay.
like that. But if you give me an address,
Mhm.
have somebody go out and take a look.
Okay, I can.
The city sets aside dollars to
Mhm.
repair and to expand sidewalks on an annual basis.
Yep.
I know we're working through a pretty big list, but
Sure.
yeah, if we can get an address.
Yep.
Then it goes into a work order system
Mhm.
and then it can be addressed.
And it's up on Northeast Capitol, which
Okay.
we all know is super busy, just with all kinds of foot traffic.
Yeah.
So I'll get an actual physical address
You
and
can just
send it
email
to you.
me or text me, whatever.
Yep,
works easier
yep.
for you.
I can do that. And then my last two things were law enforcement, and it's more of a, maybe bringing it to your attention. So a couple weeks ago, I had to make a 911 call. I was home alone, which I'm not usually home alone at night. And it was pretty late, 11:30, something like that. And I made a 911 call. It sounded like somebody was literally up on my porch. It made me, my front door was locked and all the things, but it made me really nervous because I don't know, there's just been a lot happening around town lately. I called 911 and just asked if somebody could come drive around, just take a look. Dispatch said, yes, sure. It's not an emergency, so to speak, but we'll send somebody out to take a look. That was fine and great. Asked if I wanted to call back. I said, yes, please just connect with me afterwards. Maybe I'm wrong. I just am really uncomfortable. Just call me back and let me know if you saw anything or if everything's cool. Never got a call back, and I'm 99% sure nobody ever drove by. I never saw a flashlight. I never saw a spotlight. And I was up until 1 a.m. And she said to me, you should receive a call back in the next 30 to 40 minutes, give or take a few minutes. Nothing. Nobody ever called me back. And I'm 99% sure nobody ever drove by either. So I'm really glad that no one was on my porch and that something didn't happen, because I was really ticked off about it, quite honestly.
Why didn't you go down to the police station the next day?
because I was at work and I'm not taking time off work to do that when nothing happened to me. But so I just thought I'll just bring it up, and it could have been a dispatch miscommunication. I don't know. I'm not sure, but take it for what it's worth. I wanted to bring it forward.
Well, thank
So
you. And
that's why.
that should not happen. I mean, without
Yeah, I agree.
without getting information from dispatch and seeing exactly what
Sure.
happened, it's really hard to comment on. But no,
Yeah, I
that's
get that. I just wanted to bring it forward just as maybe a proactive mention, training, whatever. Coaching, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but I was fine, but nonetheless, I was a little uncomfortable for about an hour. You know,
And then
so
Chief, just in case there is a teaching opportunity or what have you in there somewhere, would you like for her to follow up with you offline with details around the timing or date of that or anything anymore?
yeah, she's got my number. She can reach out to me whenever it's convenient.
and
I
it's
can-
hard because I went back and I looked in my phone for the date and the time. And I did not know this. When you call 911, it does not record the call in your call history. So I can't even see when I called, it erases it. At least mine does.
Oh,
So I was like, oh, well, that's dumb. Yes, that'd be very helpful. So I can give you a pretty good idea because I was actually up late cooking something for an event the next day. So I have a pretty close idea of when it was.
Okay,
So I could connect with you afterwards for sure.
sounds
Thank
good.
you. You said you have a second one as well?
Yeah, but it's kind of the same idea and I can connect with him afterwards. It's kind of that same, maybe a procedure wasn't followed the best it could be followed kind of a thing. So yeah, we can talk about that outside of here. It's fine.
All right. And then anything from anyone else? Okay, I'll take that as a no for board comments. Just would like to confirm the next meeting being February 21st of this year. And then any concerns on that date? Anything we need to lift in the moment? If not, we will go ahead and adjourn at 5:08.
Thank you. Thanks, Fiona.
Thank
You
you.
all. Bye. Thank you.
Everyone, bye.